Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Dad. Today we're going to be talking about Corbus Pharmaceuticals. If you haven't watched this one before, I've done a previous DD on this one, but this one is a good update that will have everything you need. The ticker goes by CRBP. Make sure to drop a like to this video to help this channel grow, subscribe and notifications on. And let's jump right into this one. So Corbus Pharmaceuticals, I divided this one into an updated due diligence and then a technical analysis. If you'd like to skip to the technical analysis, please feel free to do so. So, Corbus Pharmaceuticals here, we do have a bunch of different news released. So, relating to the New York Academy of Science webinar that is targeting endocannabinoid systems treat human diseases, that we do have actually that presentation and the update. I'll go through it in depth, and then we're going to move on a little bit towards their financials, what to expect. There's no current events coming up, and then some of their institutional buyers. So, Corbus Pharmaceuticals here, targeting CB1 and CB2 for human therapeutics. And this was actually published in January 27th. And so for the CB1 agonist, you have basically the synthetic THC-like, you got your plant-based THC and CBD, and the cannabidiol. And the main thing, this is some of the approved therapeutics using CB1 agonists and cannabidiols. My bad, pharmaceutical terms are the worst for me. So for supportive care, you have one for anorexia, weight loss, HIV and AIDS, nausea and vomiting from chemotherapy, nervous system diseases, muscle spasms from multiple sclerosis, and genetic diseases as well. And you have CB1 antagonists and inverse ones. So what we have here is relating to the CB1 inverse one withdrawn in 2008, and this one targets metabolic diseases, fibrotic diseases, and other diseases as well. And some of the novel Corbus CB1 inverse agonists with limited blood-brain barrier penetration, you have that inhibiting CB1 regulates metabolism, inflammation, and fibrosis. It must limit brain exposure because on target AES on anxiety and basically the rate of suicide. Now, general information here, what this one really does say is that your P on the left here is less than 0.05, which is something that you're looking for. Now, that's for this range here. And the other one is 0.01, which does show you a better significance in the range of data, generally, statistically speaking. Now, this basically says the same thing. So now you have the CB2 agonists. And what you have for this one is that some of the reported potential therapeutics for this one is autoimmune diseases, including multiple things such as synthetic sclerosis, inflammatory bowel diseases, etc. And then you have fibrotic diseases, which is skin fibrosis, lung fibrosis, liver fibrosis, renal fibrosis, heart fibrosis, and others. Cancer or anti-tumor activity, anti-metastasis, chemo-induced, basically a bit more towards cancer treatments. CNS diseases, ALS, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's disease. Others, cystic fibrosis, atopic dermatitis, some of the first words I've ever seen before, but there's other chronic diseases it can actually cure. CB2 are expressed on activated immune cells and fibroblasts. So CB2 agonists reduce production of pro-inflammatory mediators and activates resolution of inflammation. So really does have an effect towards, for instance, when you look into that kind of certain inflammations and fibrosis. And so here's some of the differences between lungs and skin with the CB2 and without, and you get to see some of the actual differences are seen here on these graphs. And the main thing here is that the lung is induced with balomican and also lenabasum, whether started prophylactically or before belaminan on therapeutics 1 week after, and you get to see multiple differences in general here in the general model for lung disease, the SSC lung diseases. And the next here is a little bit towards the difference between the placebo and the lenabasum, and you get to see that there is an effect change here. Generally in the placebo you have 69% worsened or 15% additional stable. In lenabasum you get to see that that 15% improved has gone to 43% improved, 43 stable from 15, and the worsened has gone down all the way to 13%, and that's more improvement or stability of histological findings of inflammation and fibrosis that is paired after 12 weeks of treatment. The rest of what we have here, some potential activities of CB2 agonists in cancer, is the anti-proliferative effects for blocked cell cycle progression, pro-apoptotic effects on tumor cells, reduce EGF or EGFR, and GFI or GFIR pathways. It reduces AKT pathways and attenuates downstream functions of CXCR4 or HER2. If you want to look more into that, there is actually a presentation on their website that goes in depth in there. For summary, CB1 agonists have already been approved for treatments for anorexia, weight loss, nausea, vomits, muscle spasms, rare seizures, and fibrosis and cirrhosis. Novel CB1 inverse agonists with low brain plasma ratio have been identified, and some have activity in animal modules of metabolic diseases. The next is the novel CB2 agonists that inhibits growth of tumor cells have been identified with early evidence of activity in a xenograft model. So next is the institutional buyers, and you get to see here on institutional buyers, BlackRock has taken a good amount of a chunk of the ownership, around 6.2%. Still in 2021, we do have around 17% ownership of institutionals added on. Institutionals look to be a little bit more bullish than bearish on this one. Now, in terms of purchases or sales, there's no activity here on 2021. Next is their statistics. Generally speaking, pharmas are bad on price over book, even though this one is 725. Price over sales is 3705. So it is a little bit more of a forward-looking statement on intrinsic value, because technically it's still a little bit overpriced. But generally speaking, you get to see that the market thinks they deserve a shot. Total revenue here, of course, pharmas are almost null revenue, and you get to see this is the case here. And so their net normalized income has been a little bit stable around 34 million loss, or 34 to 35 million loss on average. That's in the last few quarters. Next is their balance sheet, and we will look into their balance sheet here. What we get to see is their total assets, generally speaking, has been, of course, previously decreasing, but now with all the market moves, they put different offerings, and you get to see there has been a really nice increase generally in the net assets, generally speaking. Now in the last 2 quarters, there has been a little bit of decrease, but generally speaking, we've seen a good improvement. Next, what we're looking at is their total debt. Their total debt seems to be still increasing, but they're net positive, and that's a good thing. Now moving on towards technical analysis. If you haven't done so, please make sure to actually subscribe and notifications on. It helps me a ton. On a 1-week perspective, we get to see that things are looking still on the sloppy. We don't see that much of a movement, that strong movement. Momentum's still positive at 122. MACD here looks like to be stable. ADX shows in a potential of a trend forming, although Willie %R is overbought. The moving averages are all actually throughout bearish. Above the 280, that's where you start going a little bit bullish, because it crosses the 30 EMA line. Now, on a 1-day perspective, we get to see that the MACD has been rejected going on towards the negative trend on the 29th. It's going back onto a positive trend. Momentum is being regained. The ADX still shows in that it's still in that strong trend. William %R shows it's still overbought. 10 SMA is above the 30 EMA, and the stock price is above the 50 SMA. Meanwhile, it's still all below the 200 SMA. You see, the trading action zone is between 206 and 176. Now, on a moving average perspective, you get to see that 199 is on the top, 180 in the middle, and 162 on the bottom. And you get to see the moving average has been traded within there a few times, but generally speaking, that top has been almost a support for this move, and that's a good thing. Now, stochastic fast and stochastic slow are both showing a good improvement here. It's showing that there is a potential for another leg up, and that's always a good news for us. Now, next coming up is the Fibonacci retracement. Significant support sits at 221, significant resistance 301, 366, 431, 523, and 641. Significant supports is only 221 and 91 cents. That's when you look into the Fibonacci retracements. Now, on a price line action, significant support sits at 249, followed by 223, followed by 214, followed by 209, followed by 199, followed by 184, followed by 180, followed by 167, followed by 150. Significant resistance, 259, 286, and we have to go all the way back for something like 6 months to try, or even more, to try to find an actual significant resistance at the 341, followed by 419, followed by 469, followed by 550. Comes now to the question to Ed, what do you think about this one? Now, generally speaking, I tend to be a little bit bearish on pharmas because they're burning through money, nothing is proven. Although this one, generally speaking, has a good pipeline, has a future, institutional buyers seem to love it. And so, I would say, generally speaking, I'll remain bullish as long as it stays above the 238 mark, and if it crosses that 344 and doesn't break that as a resistance, I think that will be a really nice improvement and a really nice push. And so longer investment, I'll be bullish with cautious. What do you think about this ticker? Make sure to down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like. You have a wonderful day.